morning. It's Saturday here in Michigan, heading towards Chicago with a load. A couple days ago, there was a tour helicopter that went down in New York City, and I actually caught it on video as it fell out of the sky. And like everything else that happens in the country or in the world, when something goes down, everybody's an expert. Everybody knows everything. Everybody's a scholar on the topic. And as I've mentioned more than a few times in the past, I spent 35 years as a helicopter pilot. So when aviation stuff pops up, I have a tendency to chime in. I have read nothing about this incident other than watching that video of the airframe coming out of the sky. And here's my 2 cents. I keep saying it's a 206 Jet Ranger. The aircraft in the picture is not a Jet Ranger, it's a Long Ranger, which is the same, kind of the same airframe, but it's longer. And the blades are longer, the fuselage is longer, it has another row of seats. I've got 5,000 hours in a Long Ranger, and out of an irony, I actually had my emergency water landing, auto rotation landing in a Long Ranger a long time ago. And looking at the video and the still shot of it falling out of the sky, I can kind of tell you how it got to that physical appearance and how it got there based on my knowledge of how these things go. Helicopters have a whole lot of flashing lights and buzzers and warning devices in the cockpit. Things are going wrong. The engine, the transmission, and the gearbox all have chip detectors in them. It looks kind of like a spark plug as your oil circulates. And if a piece of metal is floating around in there because something's starting to chew up, I'm talking about a fraction of a fingernail clipping, it's going to tell you, the light's going to come on, and it's going to magnetically attract it and say, whoop, there's something in here. I mean, it warns you. Catastrophic airframe failure, there's not a whole lot of scenarios where that sneaks up on you. On top of all the bells and whistles and buzzers, helicopters have a feel to them that pilots are extremely in tune to. If anything at all feels wrong, the pilot's going to notice it. If you're sitting in the back seat and you reach in your pocket to pull out your keys and you go like this to do it, the pilot knows you did that. I mean, literally, if you watch a pilot turn around and go, because you moved, because you can feel the slightest thing. And a helicopter talks to you if you're paying attention. And pilots that have been around more than a few minutes understand this. If you're having a tail rotor issue or something about the tail rotor starting to go wrong, you're going to feel it in your feet. If there's a problem with your rotor system, you feel it in your hands. If there's a problem with the engine, you'll feel it in your ass. The aircraft literally talks to you. So catastrophic airframe failure, you're just not flying along and surprise, it doesn't really do that. There has to be a circumstance outside the airframe. So I'm looking at that video of that aircraft falling out of the sky, which at that point is nothing more than a bus. If you look at it, people say, oh, there's just still stubby rotor blades. No, there aren't. The aircraft's actually upside down. And what you're seeing are the skids. So you have a rotor, and you have the mast, which is what it pivots on. If you look at that video, the rotor's gone, the mast is gone. And half the tail boom is gone. Now, a pilot hot-dogging or doing something violent under certain circumstances in that particular airframe can force the blade to hit the tail boom. But you've got to be doing something intentional. And based on that video and where the tail rotor boom, the tail boom itself is cut off, that is outside of the range of that movement. You physically cannot make the rotor blade, and I don't care what you're doing, you cannot have it bow down by control inputs to cut the tail boom off in the middle. You can't do it. You can't. I don't care if you're sitting on the rotor blade on the tip, and it won't do it. So based on that video, if you're in an airplane and you're flying along a little plane and your wing falls off, the plane's going to fall like this because there's no lift and it's going to pretty much nosedive into the ground. If you're flying along in a helicopter and one of your blades pops off, the other blade is still going around and is going to throw the aircraft violently, and it's going to tear itself to pieces. Especially in a two-bladed system like that, kind of a teeter-totter, they call it, a rigid, semi-rigid system. it is going to go 1, 2, and then that's going to be it. That's why if you look, as the airframe's falling out of the sky, the mast is gone, because that motion ripped the mast out of the transmission. And in its ensuing whatever, because it was so close, it chopped the tail boom off in the middle. That's the only way you can get there. So what you're looking at is a loss of one of the blades, or partial loss of one of the blades, and the ensuing ripping, because the person who filmed it actually filmed the crash, and then they went up in the sky, and you can see bits of wreckage falling out of the sky, fluttering out of the sky. The question is, why did the blade separate? And the most common system, or the way that happens, is you have to hit something. And again, the experts are all popping out of the bushes going, a bird won't take the rotor blade. The hell it won't. They had a medical helicopter go down in Oklahoma in 23, flying at night at 1,500 feet, and 1 in a billion shot, hit a flight of geese. Had they been a foot higher or lower, they wouldn't have hit them. Hit a flight of geese, knocked the blade, and you can watch on that aero track, I don't remember what it's called anymore, but the aircraft just goes poof into the ground. I've seen pictures of it. It's laying in an open field, laying there, and there's dead geese all around it. I mean, pretty obvious what happened. But these people, you can't knock it. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. So either they either hit something, or they had a very incredibly sudden, violent, catastrophic failure, which I've never heard of that happening. The blade separated, a partial blade separation, or one of the Jesus nuts broke off, the blade pins broke, which again, I've never heard of that happening. Something about a rotor blade that most people don't realize is it's not just sitting there. It's the blade's actually doing this. I've seen a camera mounted on the mast looking down the blade, and I watched that, and I'm like, I don't want to see that. Because the blade is flopping. It's not just rigid, it's banging around. And those are tested, and they have a lifespan. You can only have a blade put so many hours on it. I mean, they know these things, so this is going to be interesting. So either, and I didn't see in the video anything falling out of the sky like a dead goose or something, so this is going to be interesting how this turns out. But once that blade is separated like that and the aircraft rips itself apart, there's nothing the pilot can do. There's nothing they can do. And literally, I've always said the only thing you need to make a helicopter land is the blades turning. That's it. You can lose your engine, you can lose your transmission, you can lose your tail rotor, you can lose everything, and you can put it on the ground. I mean, it might be ugly, but you can put it on the ground. So, whoa, bad lighting. So this situation is going to be interesting how this unfolds, and the fact that somebody caught that on camera that's pretty impressive. But stop listening to the experts that are saying, it was a DEI hire. I don't care who you are. If you lose a blade and an aircraft rips itself to pieces, I don't care if you're Peter Pilot. It's not going to turn out well. But this is going to be interesting, and I'm going to keep an eye on this because I'm real curious on how that happened, because I have literally never known of or heard of a sudden, violent, catastrophic airframe failure. I've literally never heard of that. All right. Take care.